Welcome back to Lead Yourself First, the Conscious Leadership Blueprint. I'm Dr. Kevin Mays. Today, episode 4, your ghost, script, and your triggers. Understanding your inner barriers and mining for gold. If you haven't hit the like or subscribe button, please do so now. Stay connected. Become part of the community, part of the movement. What we need now more than ever is individuals who have agency, who are self-possessed and make conscious, intentional decisions. And what you're going to learn today, what we'll discuss, is how it is that we get in our own way, how we shoot ourselves in the foot, how we restrict our own potential, and how you can uncover that gold within to become a better version of yourself. Now, what we're going to talk about today, Lead Yourself First, is the title of the upcoming book. If you're interested, have a look. Go to upgradeyourleadership.com and you're going to find free downloads available and access to the book that's coming out. Upgradeyourleadership.com. Lead yourself first. So first of all, I want to talk about how we develop our self-concept and our worldview. In our brain, we have hardware that allows us to function and to thrive in the world. That hardware is really a neurocomputer, the most complex, complicated thing that humanity has ever known, the human brain. And that brain is filled with programs that allow us to exist consistently and to find success in the world. However, those programs are also the secret to our detriment. That's right. The secret to our success and our detriment all at the same time. Now, here's the thing that's important to understand is that while we have a brain, we also have a mind. And these two are distinctly different. While one is the hardware, the other is the software. Our brain is the supercomputer that helps run all of our systems and processes. Our mind is actually the coding. And guess what? When we came into the world, we didn't have the coding. It was a blank slate. We didn't have programs and systems. But based on our experience in the world, we started having experiences. Based on those experiences, we started forming our software. That software that we formed out of the gate was essential in allowing us to not only survive, but thrive, and to truly get our attention needs met at the most profound level. To get love, attention, food, nurturing, and all of the things a fresh little human needs. So we learned early on to behave a certain way. And it was really a process of stimulus and response, right? You behaved a certain way to individuate, to separate, and to make yourself different from the system around you. This is why it's so important to understand your birth order, for example. Oldest children often behave differently than middle children, often behave differently than youngest children. And that's purely based on environmental factors that nobody had to intentionally create. There's a reason why the majority of astronauts into space, I believe it was 22 out of the first 23 into space, were oldest children. They learned something. They ingrained some software that was distinctly different than middle children, than youngest children. And nurture plays a role in how we become who we are. Understanding that and having self-awareness, having awareness of the patterns you programmed into your own cognition, your own neural framework, awareness of those patterns is key to being able to interrupt those patterns. Now, here's a really important thing to think about. When you come into the world, you're a wild, feral individual. Your swings will go from +10 to -10, right? When you're small and you're afraid, you will absolutely freak out. You'll break down. Sobbing is not uncommon for a small child, an infant who's screaming, who wants to be fed. Similarly, when a small child is excited, it's titillating, right? If you put a group of kids at a 4-year-old's birthday party on a rainy day, and it'll calcify your bones as an adult. And what's the messaging adults will give to youngsters who are in that zone. Use your inside voice, calm down, quiet down, go outside and play. In effect, we take this wide open energy and we learn that constraint is what's needed to be acceptable. And existing outside of that constraint is not okay. We learn to be unaware of parts of ourselves through that process. And we learn that parts of ourselves, that part of who we are is not okay. We learn this deeper belief in our own lack. And we learn that in order to be okay, we have to behave a certain way. We have to be the family hero. We have to be good enough. We have to be smart. We have to be stoic. We have to be pleasing. We have to be responsible, diligent. We have to be the hard worker. This becomes the identity we attach ourselves to. This becomes the mask we learn to wear. And we begin to believe that in order to be okay in the world, we must demonstrate that behavior. We start to believe that's who we are and that we only have value when we do that thing. And it all goes back to that constraint we learned when we're 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 10 years old. We learn to fit the bill, to play the role. And when we don't play that role, there's this self-doubt, which I think of as our internal ghost, which starts to haunt us. It's a belief in our own lack, that somehow we're not good enough. We don't measure up. We're worthless. There's one thing I most don't want people to know about me. I just don't measure up. I'm not worth it. Now, nobody ever told me, Kevin, you don't measure up. But it's what I constructed based on my experience of the world around me. As I came into the world and compared myself against the others around me, I learned that in order to measure up, I needed to behave a certain way. I needed to be the pleaser. I needed to be the hard worker. I needed to be the responsible one. I needed to be a freedom lover, right? I started to construct this identity that as long as I fulfilled the role of that identity and got validation from the outside world, then I was okay. Here's the only problem. That's the secret to my success, and it's brilliant. I'm good at being creative. I'm good at being innovative. I'm good at thinking outside of the box. I'm good at a lot of things, being smart, being a hard worker, being diligent. However, that becomes an anchor because in my life, if I'm not aware, those same strengths become the thing that I must do to be okay. And when I perceive that the world is saying I'm not smart enough, I'm not creative enough, I'm not inventive enough, I'm not pleasing enough, then this self-doubt creeps in. That's when my ghost creeps in. To the extent now, as a 50-some-year-old man, if I have a client who is frustrated or upset with some feedback I've given them, it will rent unnecessary rent in my mind. It'll keep me up at night, all because I have this deeply ingrained script to be pleasing. When I was a child growing up, when I didn't have all my neural fabric in place, I learned to be the pleaser. And as I made my mom and dad happy, and as I was the charming manipulator that is the role that the youngest child often plays, as I smiled and made everything okay, as I was a mediator, as I brushed through conflict like it was no big deal, I learned to be very optimistic, but sometimes at a fault, right? And this became then ingrained in my brain's neurocircuitry. So much so that when I'm not paying attention, it dictates how I show up in ways that can undermine what I'm trying to create. What's that look like? It looks like me always having to be optimistic, always having to be positive, sometimes at the expense of being realistic. And when I am faced with a reality that doesn't match the attachment I'm holding onto, that success script, that ego identity of being the fun loving, intelligent, smart, creative guy, when I see something, when I perceive something that invalidates that scripting, it unleashes this ghost. This ghost within is simply self-doubt. But for me, it looks like this belief that I don't measure up. It's a belief that generally stays out of my awareness. However, when I perceive things that challenge my self-concept that I've constructed through the course of my lifetime, it unleashes this ghost of self doubt. And when the ghost of self doubt is in place, my brain begins to operate differently. That's when the genius brain takes off and the caveman brain takes over. In those moments, stress hormones course through my body. In those moments, I begin to behave differently. I start to blame. I start to make excuses. I start to become defensive. In those moments, I'm not the best version of myself. In those moments, I become triggered. Now, the key is self awareness, understanding that as humans, we all have this cognitive framework, that within it is not only our worldview, but a deep belief in who we are and who we need to be. It is the constraint that we adopted and programmed into us that allows us to be successful. It's the magic that makes us different, that makes us unique, that makes us a great executive, that makes us an amazing entrepreneur. However, when it's in charge of us and we're not in charge of it, it'll also railroad us. It'll also leave us taking on too much and not delegating. It'll also leave us working all hours of the night and carrying too much stress. It will take us 180 degrees from the result we're trying to get. The key is with awareness, you can begin to change that relationship with that part of your mind. Without awareness, those patterns will drive and dictate you. Guaranteed, you will keep doing the same thing that got you here, even though what we know to be true is what got you here will not get you there. The secret to your success, right, got you here, and that's beautiful. But you must evolve and change to be the person you want to be, to have the life that you want, to have the influence, to be the executive you want, to be the entrepreneur, to be the husband, to be the spouse, the wife, the child, the parent, to be that individual. You must evolve and change. And that means upgrading the programming that you installed so early on. The problem is that DOS programming that you installed, it worked for you. And when you installed it, your survival was at stake. It's deeply ingrained, so deeply ingrained, you don't even see it. It's so intuitive. You don't even see it or know it's there. However, it shows up, it rears its ugly head when you perceive things that challenge it. And in those moments, here's where your mind will play tricks on you. You'll believe it's the outside world. You'll believe the outside world is the problem. But you'll believe they're the reason you're upset. You'll believe they're the reason you're not getting the success you want. You'll believe they're the reason that you're unhappy. But the reality is that's just not true. What is true is that it's your perception of the world around you that is creating your upset, your unhappiness, and the lack of results. What's imperative then is to be able to understand that framework, that hidden bias. And that hidden bias is tied into your scripts, right? Those scripts of how you learn to be, that constraint that you developed early on that allowed you to get your attention needs met, allowed you to survive and thrive in your early system. They're driving the bus right now in more ways than, and you must upgrade that neurocircuitry. You must upgrade your programming. You must upgrade your leadership. For the book, go to upgradeyourleadership.com. Little plug there. You must upgrade your leadership. And when you do that, you upgrade everything. You can elevate the way you show up in life by upgrading, by understanding and having first of all, a level of presence to be able to flex that mental muscle of presence, to be able to come back to the here and now moment. And then from that place to have awareness. Now, when we talk about awareness, I'm not talking about just awareness of the external world. Most people live their life developing awareness of what's around them, not what's in them. The true wise entrepreneur and wisdom leadership requires developing awareness within. Awareness of the patterns of thinking, of feeling, and behaving is the key to leading on purpose. If you want to lead on purpose, you have to be able to harness your attention and be able to turn it inward to notice the inner narrative and to notice that anchored with that narrative is this worldview, is this belief structure that you've created, is this self-concept, to understand that self-concept that you're attached to, that owns you is key. That's the first step in starting to let go and really achieve a higher level of results. In fact, if you want to unleash your potential, you must let go. The process of developing wisdom is a process of letting go and stepping back in the moment, of letting go and developing awareness, of letting go and being able to notice when that ghost is starting to haunt you, when the self doubt, when the critical nature of your mind arrives. In fact, I bet that you say things about yourself when that ghost is haunting you that nobody else would ever get away with. Are you critical on yourself? Are you severe in your own mind? If you're like me, it creeps in sometimes. And the key is to recognize that what the ghost says, when that part of your mind takes over, what it says is not true. It's simply a fabrication, it's a ghost. Letting go of that and just seeing it for what it is. It's super important to not resist against. You see, what we try to do is resist against because it doesn't feel well. And how do you resist against the ghost? Just attach yourself more to your success scripts. Oh, if I just work harder, I'll be okay. And here you are, 50 years old, 40, 50, 60 years old, just trying to work harder to make yourself okay. Just trying to be the one who's more responsible, just being the one who always says yes, even though it's killing you, even though it's exhausting you, even though it's not allowing you to live the life you want, even though it's getting in the way of you living on purpose. That mind is sneaky. And those patterns you developed early on, if you're not aware, they'll be in charge of you and you're not in charge of them. And this work is about changing the relationship. That's what conscious leadership is. It's changing the relationship with that part of yourself and recognizing when that ghost comes in, not to push against it, but just to notice it for what it is, because that which you resist persists. That which you resist persists. And if you resist that part of yourself that you don't like, you're just keeping it going. You're pushing it under the surface. You're attaching yourself to some other idea that as long as I'm smart enough, responsible enough, pleasing enough, I'll be okay. But that's what creates the insanity. The key is to let go of those success scripts and to know that to be your best version of yourself, you can't let those be in charge. And when you step out of that comfort zone, when you stop letting your success scripts drive how you show up, you're going to start to doubt. You're going to feel guilt. You're going to feel hurt. You're going to feel shame. You're going to feel the wellspring of emotion that humans are designed to experience. However, I know this to be true. You have learned to be unaware of your emotion. You have learned to notice the good ones, the positive ones, the reaffirming ones, and to not notice the ones that might be more uncomfortable. But here's the secret. Emotion can't hurt you. There actually is no good and no bad emotion. The reality is emotion's just a feeling in your body. Nothing more, nothing less. It's a feeling in your body, and then there's a concept that we attach to it. We call it good. We call it bad. We make a judgment because we don't like it. When you get off that crazy train of craving what we like and averting what we don't like, and just learn to sit in your seat in the present moment with whatever arises within yourself, with whatever it feels like, when you stop reacting, you cut the cycle of craving and aversion, you open the door to true conscious leadership. You open the door to wisdom. The door to wisdom is opened when you learn to be non-reactive and just recognize that your emotion at one level is a physiological sensation that will manifest in you. When you have awareness and start to notice, when my chest gets tight, my stomach gets a pit in it, my shoulders start to tingle, without exception, every time you have an emotion, it manifests physiologically in your body. Now, that doesn't mean you have awareness of it. In fact, if you're like me, you've learned to be unaware of it through the messaging you got. Growing up, big boys don't cry. I'll give you something to cry about. Never let them see you sweat. All this messaging is great. It can shut us off, shut off our awareness to a true part, to the depth of who we are. And while we have learned to be constrained, to not have those highs and to not have those lows, we end up living this milk toast life. We end up living like a zombie. We don't feel the high highs because we don't feel the low lows. When we allow ourselves to strip off the blinders and to really step fully into our humanity, we start to experience the fullness of life, like the changing seasons, right? Like the cold, blustery winter days and the full flowering days of spring. This is the human experience. And when you allow yourself to step into that place, to acknowledge and experience the highs and the depths of low within yourself without wavering, just being present, being aware, and being non reactive, calling it as it is, recognizing the sensations in your body as simply that, not emotions that will swallow you up, but simply emotions. It's anxiety, it's in your chest, it's in your shoulders, it's in your stomach. This level of awareness is really uncommon among leaders. And I'll tell you what, it's common among elite executives, it's common among elite entrepreneurs. Elite entrepreneurs and executives have the awareness to notice the red flags, right? To notice when the emotion is coming up in them, as it does for all humans, not to push it down and act like the antiquated bumper sticker I see that says no fear. No fear is ridiculous. We all have fear. Humans are designed to experience fear. The question is, what do you do with it? I know a lot of people who transmute their fear into anger and they move through the world with anger. Anger drives them, but underneath it, when you peel it back, there's fear underneath. And anger becomes a defensive push, right? Sometimes the best defense is offense. And that's what I see folks who have fear under the surface recognize too. Our negative emotion is anchored to a state of self doubt. Often, our negative emotion is anchored to a state of self doubt. So notice whenever you start to doubt, whenever the ghost starts to haunt, whenever you start to feel like you're not good enough, you don't measure up, you're a failure, you're worthless, you're unlovable, whenever that flash hits you, I'm going to encourage you to pause in that moment and just start to scan your body. Don't get caught up in the narrative because that's just a virus in your software left over from when you programmed it. We all have these viruses. Recognize it for what it is and don't push against it. Just see it. Oh, here it is again. Here's the pattern again. Here's the virus again. And recognize, drop down into a deeper awareness within your physical structure. And you'll see that whenever that narrative starts to happen, that virus in your software hits, the self doubt, the ghost creeps in, you'll notice there's something physiologically that happens. And the more you can allow yourself to experience that, what you'll begin to notice is that whole experience will arise, sustain for a short period, and pass away. That's the nature of all emotion, unless you resist it. When you resist it, it persists. That which you resist persists. When you allow yourself to simply experience it for what it is objectively. And we talked earlier about developing the objective observer within. And this is what we're talking about. We talk about the objective observer. It's in the mind's eye, but it's really not just a vision. It's being able to be aware of what we're thinking without owning it, without letting it own us. We own it, but it doesn't own us. It's simply a pattern of thinking. Be aware of your thinking. Be aware of what you feel in your body emotionally. Be aware of the physical sensations in your body. Be aware of your personality, your mind, your emotion, and your body. With that place of awareness, that's the power zone. See, that's when you have true choice, true freedom, when you're not reacting to the sensations in your body. However, right now, when you watch TV, you will see masses of people who simply react. People who react. They react out of fear with anger, and they react in a way that is blind. We all do. It's time to wake up. Conscious leadership is about waking up, acknowledging the scripts that drive us, and letting go. Recognizing the ghost when it haunts us and not letting it own us, but changing and maturing that relationship with ourselves This is powerful. This is profound leadership at its best. This is timeless wisdom. This is what neuroscience is teaching us and what contemplatives have known for centuries, that with presence, the ability to be right here, right now. In fact, that's all there is, this very moment. Not the construct and the fabricated narrative you're telling about what might happen, not the construct and the fabricated narrative you're constructing about your past. That fantasy of the future or past are not real. What is real is right here, right now. Your ability to be present in this moment. And from that place, to be aware. This is the power zone with awareness, objective awareness of yourself, to just notice the thoughts that drift through your mind like clouds in the sky without reacting to them, to notice how your thinking spawns feeling. When you have a belief system that the world agrees with, it's going to create comfortable emotion that you're going to crave and want more of. We all want that validation. However, that's monkey mind. That's not true wisdom. That's us craving more validation. That's us being conditionally created here on earth. But that's not wisdom. Wisdom is when you peel that back. Because when you peel back all these layers that we're talking about, the layers of conception, the layers of emotion, the layers of reaction, the layers of sensation, and you drop into the true present moment, non-reactive in this moment, there's power. There's more power in you in this moment than you ever knew. There is such potential right now, right below the surface. If you can stop that reactive chain, if you can be aware of those red flags, those triggers in your body, and just allow yourself to breathe into that. If you can put down the programming that you've developed over the course of your life, there is infinite potential in you right now, in this moment. Accessing that only happens in the present moment. Here's one thing I find fascinating is that we construct our future based on our experience in the past. We limit ourselves like a ball and chain, like an anchor on a boat. We have certain experiences, and when we think of what's possible in the future, we take our past and we project it into the future. And it's such a limitation because the universe doesn't work that way. We work that way and we limit ourselves. When you put down your experience of the past, and I'm not talking about throwing out the baby with the bathwater, no, but changing the relationship with that part of yourself so it doesn't drive and dictate how you show up. When you put that down, when you let go and step fully into the discomfort that comes when you don't know, when you let go of certainty, when you step out of your comfort zone, you open the door to true potential. The options you'll find, as I have, that when you pull the blinders off, and I've had experiences in my life where I've been so far out of my comfort zone, out of the routine, out of the day to day, where there was no familiarity in the situations where I was, right? When I was on the West Coast, when I ran out of money and my motorcycle broke down and I didn't know anybody for 2,000 miles. Talk about disorienting. Talk about reinventing. This is the amazing, beautiful thing is this with this deep level of awareness that we're talking about, you can rewrite the script. You can rewrite the narrative. You can rewrite how you show up. You can rewrite how the story plays out. Starts with this clarity of your vision. Having clarity of who you want to be is absolutely key. So we start with presence, being here in this moment. From there, then honing your focus and your attention, your ability to be aware, to create a deeper level of self-awareness of your thinking, your feeling, and your behaving, and then being able to move with intention, not reactively, but purposefully towards the person you are becoming. This is the formula, folks. This is the formula that will radically change how you show up on planet Earth. It will radically change how you show up in your relationship. Because when you're completely dialed in with your vision and you take complete ownership, accountability, and responsibility, 100%, when you stop blaming, when you stop being a victim, when you take full ownership right here, right now, and then begin taking action in alignment with your vision, you put yourself in the driver's seat. Your life will radically change. As you change your thinking, you will change your world. This is why it's so important to be able to be vigilant, to be very careful about what you allow into your mind. With your thoughts, you create the world. Create the thoughts, create the self-concept, create the vision of who you're becoming and the world you're creating, of the relationships, of the leadership, the impact you're having, of the business you're developing, of the father, the mother, the sister, the brother, the child that you are becoming. What is that vision? What does your best self look like? Right? When you stand and have clarity of that vision, then it becomes easier to notice when you're off purpose, right? Then it becomes easier to notice when the ghost is in charge, when you're becoming defensive, when you're justifying, rationalizing. Then very quickly you can start to wake up. And folks, hear me. This is nothing less than me asking for you to wake up. This is a call to wake up and wake up now. It's a call for me to wake up and for you to wake up, to put down the conception and step boldly into the potential that is latent in this moment. This is what conscious leadership is all about. And this is why it's so important to understand the ghost, to understand your success scripts. These are all the processes and patterns that constrain. What we want to do is let go of the things that are getting in the way and adopt more of the positive things that are aligning with the vision of who we're becoming, and not becoming unaware of parts of ourselves that we don't like, but becoming whole. This is the path to conscious leadership, becoming whole. Be aware of the red flags, welcome the ghost, notice those success drivers, and become the most self-aware leader you can. Life is yours to create. This is Dr. Kevin asking you to stay tuned. Hit the subscribe button, push the like, write comments, join the conversation. Lead yourself first and upgrade your leadership. Go to upgradeyourleadership.com, grab a copy of the book, join the movement of people who are committed to becoming the best version of themselves. My God, we need it. Thanks for walking along. Bye for now.